Hello, fancy meeting you in a different part of the house today. Thank you for tuning back in to Yoga with Paige. Another little chat session headed your way. I thought today, as we continue to move away from asana, I wanted to give some credit where credit is due and tell you a few things that I have learned through my asana practice. So basically, what this limb of yoga has taught me. It honestly has taught me a lot. I didn't think when I first began that I would actually be learning so many lessons about yoga. I really had started my practice for the physical aspects and also just the mental health of finding some presence and some connection. But I didn't think that I would actually be learning so many more things about myself. So we can dive right into this quick little video. One of the things I've been learning more about is listening to my own body's signals. Now, this may seem kind of like duh, but different. If you repeat the same sequences, you can notice how your body changes daily. So certain postures may feel good on certain days, certain postures may not ever feel good, but you learn to really listen to your stopping point. You find your own physical stopping point. And that is why we have so many modifications, so many different levels for practitioners, because every single body is so unique. Anatomically, some postures don't feel good in some bodies. You will never get there. And some people are more open, they're a little bit more flexible, they can access poses easier. So each individual is going to have his or her own stopping point. That point where you move from the scale of discomfort into pain. And that is where we stop. That is what we don't want. We're okay with some discomfort. We learn to move through the discomfort. That's part of the yoga journey process. But we don't want any pain. Our yoga practice is supposed to help us be not pain-free, but help us manage our pain, not give us more pain. So we really get to understand the body and know our own stopping points and be able to kind of dial it back and listen to your own body's signals, which is so important because this will carry with you through the rest of your life, your daily activities. You will be more in tune and in touch with your body's signals, what it is trying to tell you. It's basically a reflection, a mirror of the brain. The brain sends the signals to the body, and if you're listening to the body's signals, you're really listening to your brain. You're listening to yourself. Another thing that I really have been learning is finding true presence by tuning into my body. So by really being intentional and conscious about my movements, not just the postures themselves, but more so the transitions, the little time in between, what it takes to get there. What are my next intentional steps? Do I have to move from warrior 2 into a high lunge? I need to pivot on that back foot and try to control it as much as I can. So really, when you dial into these specific details, you're tuning everything else out. If you are dialing into your body so much that you can tune out other senses, other distractions, other worries, that is where the stress management comes. That's where your nervous system starts to calm itself down because you are not inundating yourself with all this other useless information. You are in the here and the now, the important time with your body and your mind. That's where we find that yogic to yoke union of body and mind is in the present moment. And it's so easy to find the present moment when you're super tuned into the body. And I will say this is different on different days, different practices, different times, depending on what's going on. It may be easier to find this presence than other times. It is a journey. Not every day is the same. And that's what makes each practice so unique and exploratory. A big lesson for me, especially coming from a dance background, I've always been pretty flexible. I've always had a decent sort of kind of agility, balance from my dance background, even though my real life balance is terrible and I'm constantly hurting myself, but that's another story. But this one was a big one. I had to accept what is. So some days, especially if I worked out too much and I had an intense workout, say, and one of my muscle groups was very, very sore, and in my yoga practice, I wouldn't be able to go as far into a pose as I normally would, and that used to really irritate me. It used to irk me because I saw myself, I guess I was building myself up into this box of, you can do these things, you're super flexible, you can do this. And then when I couldn't do it, I would find frustration. I met myself with a ton of frustration until I had to work through these emotions and realize that it was just that day. You're not going to be able to access every single posture or pose every day, and that's okay. Your body is different on different days, depending on what you've been doing and how little you've been practicing. So accepting what you can do on that day, in that practice, really just let a lot of little stressors and helped me kind of relieve some of my anxiety. Just being able to accept the here and the now, and that's it. Another big one for me, this is a big juicy one, was letting go, releasing any limiting beliefs I had about myself. So sometimes, a lot of times, when you think you can't do something, I mean, it's just your brain telling you can't do it. You won't know if you can or can't do it until you try. So if you let your brain tell you this narrative, like you can't do this, you're not strong enough, you're not flexible enough, you haven't practiced it enough, throw all of those out the freaking window and try it anyway. Who cares if you fall, as long as you're safe and don't hurt yourself? Who cares if you fail? Who cares if you look stupid or silly? Who cares if you don't get it on the first time? You probably won't. You'll probably have to try it another 100, maybe 1,000 times. And that's the whole point. Letting go, releasing that little voice in your head saying, you can't do it, you can't do it, turning around, looking it in the face and saying, oh yeah, watch me try. Maybe I can't do it, but I won't know until I try. So just kind of flicking that voice out the window and just trying random transitions that I didn't think I could do. My first arm balance, this was a story for my first arm balance. I don't really have a ton of upper body strength yet. I'm working on that. So crow, I've always been kind of able to do for a few years, but my first real skilled arm balance that I got was 8 angle pose. And when I tell you, I almost cried when I got it. It was magnificent, but it wasn't even that long. I only had to try a few times, and the last thing that made it click for me was someone gave me a little tip that I needed for my alignment so that I could actually hold my body weight. So it wasn't that I wasn't strong enough at all. It was that I didn't understand where exactly to place my limbs to counterbalance all of my weight. And right when they told me that, it clicked and I could hold it for almost a minute long. And I've been able to do it ever since. So throw those limiting beliefs out the window. You can do all things that you set your mind to. The physical aspect of yoga has also helped me to focus on what I can control in that moment, in that day, in my life, and release whatever I can't. So just being intentional with my movements, focusing on my body, because my body, my reactions, my emotions are the only thing that I can control. I can't control what happens to me. I can't control what the teacher chooses to teach, but I can control how I react to what happens to me, and I can control my own movements in regards to what they're teaching. Another cool thing that I feel like has been ingrained in me throughout the few years that I've been practicing is just how strong, resilient, capable our bodies are. Like, I knew that before I started practicing, but as you continue to grow these practices and see yourself building strength in these postures and be able to do more and more and more sometimes, you really truly see just how amazing your physical body is, which also helps me take care of it better. So my physical part of my practice has helped me in other ways of life by teaching me so many things about my body, coming in tune to my body, understanding what normal is to me, because my normal is going to be different than other people's normal, which is super cool when you think about it. So learning your body and yourself is, I think, one of the most important aspects that a physical yoga practice can teach you. But I would love to know what your viewpoint on this is. What do you think is the most important, or what is the biggest lesson that you've learned throughout your asana practice thus far? I would love to hear your experiences with this and some of your growth journey. And as always, thank you for being here and tuning in, supporting Yoga with Paige. I am so blessed to be able to share these thoughts and these yoga flows with you. And I love building this community. I'm super glad you are here. So until we meet next time, my dear friend, I wish you all the best.